Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everyone. So, are you tired of studying the entire NCERT without knowing what is really important? So, in this video, we will decode the entire class 12 biology syllabus chapter by chapter, and I will tell you which subtopics matters the most for like CBSE 2025. So, let's move on to the video. So understanding the syllabus helps you to plan the revision properly, chapter wise revision. Okay, you have to practice the diagrams, you have to memorize the experiments, and you have to memorize the definitions. That is important. Okay, and you have to like understand all the topics with proper clarity in order to understand and in order to write the answers properly. So first we will divide the chapters into the subtopics, and then I have a planning that I will upload question papers for each subtopic. I will upload 30 marks question paper in the post section of my YouTube channel, so you can try that question to answer by yourself, and then I will upload the videos the answer script for those question paper also. So okay, so let me first discuss the subtopics. So for the sexual reproduction in flowering plants, this chapter. So for this chapter, okay, sexual reproduction in flowering plants. First you have to understand about the structure of the flower, that is bisexual and unisexual flower. Okay, monoecious and dioecious plant you have to understand. And then you have to read about the male and the female gametophytes. Okay, and you have to practice the diagrams well about the gametophytes and the male and female part. You have to understand the drawing also. The anther drawing you have to do. Okay, the microsporogenesis and the megasporogenesis that you have to read. Okay, and the most important part is double fertilization. You have to understand the concept properly. Okay, you have to read about the endosperm development. Okay, and then the embryo development. Okay, so double fertilization is like star for this chapter, because you have to it is very much important. You have to understand the topic also, and you have to prepare it for 3 marks and 5 marks both. Okay, next there is pollination. This is quite easy portion. You are studying this from class 6 only. So there are different types of agents, different types of pollinations, and one more important thing is outbreeding devices. Okay, and you have to know about the examples here, about the types. The examples are the main thing. Okay, you have to know it very well. The clistogamous flower. Okay, all those types of examples you need to know. Okay, hydrophily, you have to know the examples properly, and you have to know about the agents and the outbreeding devices. For the 3 marks, these are important. Okay, and last part, this is also quite easy part, which is seed and fruit formation. Okay, you have to know about the endospermous seed and the non-endospermous seed. Okay, and then the fruit development also. And the last portion is apomixis and polymembryony. Here the definitions are important, and also why apomixis is important, that is also a very important question, and this comes in 3 marks. Okay, so you have to prepare it well. Okay, and here from this 4 points that is there, you have to practice the diagrams are very much important. Okay, and also in the case based question, they also give the diagram entirely from based on the NCERT, and they can ask different type of questions based on that diagram itself. Okay, so next moving on to the human reproduction chapter. So first is the male and female reproductive system. So you have to understand the drawing, and then you have to understand each and every part of it and the function of each and every part. Okay, like, and then one of the major important question is why the scrotal sac is outside of the body of the human male. Okay, because of spermatogenesis. And then there are different types of cells, Leydig cells, what they secrete, what their proper function you have to know, and also the pathways that are there in the male reproductive system, that you also have to read. Okay, all of you. And then for the female reproductive structure, same, you have to know that each part function of the each part is important, and the drawings are also important. Okay, so practice the drawing properly and understand the function of each different part properly. Make a chart of each part, like write the parts here and write the functions here. You can write you can divide the each part and function right like this. And if you can prepare, for male you prepare one sheet, and for female you prepare another sheet, and you can study this easily. Okay, then you have to understand the gametogenesis. Gametogenesis, there is spermatogenesis and there is oogenesis. So you have to practice the drawing of both. Okay, the flow diagram of both this two. Okay, and then you have to understand in the oogenesis there are two types of drawing. You have to practice that, and in spermatogenesis also there is a Watt diagram that you have to practice. Okay, and you have to understand each steps properly. Okay, and in the oogenesis there is role of different kinds of hormone that you have to also read. Okay, during in the menstrual cycle the graph is very much important. Okay, from the graph itself the question comes. Okay, and you have to know about the different phases, when the what are the changes that is happening during the different phases. Okay, and what are the hormonal control, that means what are the hormones that is playing role in different phases, that you have to know. You have to know about the LH surge. Okay, and what happens to the ovum if the fertilization is there, and if it is not there. If the fertilization is there, there is one fate, and if there is no fertilization, then what will happen? There is another fate, right? So different fates you have to read. This part is very much important. Okay, again there is fertilization itself, where the fertilization take place, that is important, and implantation, where the implantation occurs and why it is important. Again it is an important part. And then is embryonic development, which is cleavage. Okay, you have to read about all the cleavage steps, and you have to know the name of different cleavage stages. Okay, you have to know about the blastocyst, that is a very important part, and if you have to draw the diagram here also. Okay, diagrams, practice the diagrams of different types of cleavages. Okay, and here also you have to practice the female reproductive structure, and during the fertilization also you have to practice. Okay, and then there is placenta formation. You have to know that what are the hormones the placenta is secreting, and what are the hormones that female reproductive structure is secreting. Okay, you have to read about the relaxin hormone, that is important. And then there is parturition. In the parturition there is a hormonal role. Okay, that you have to read about oxytocin. Oxytocin is playing here the important role, so it comes in 3 marks. So that is why you have to know about it. And last is lactation. You have to know about why lactation is important for the baby, and you have to read about the IgA, that is the antibodies that is there in the milk. Okay, and you have to know about colostrum. Okay, these are the few topics that you need to remember for here. These are the key topics. Okay, and then there is reproductive health. This is a very scoring unit, so you just have to read it and you just have to memorize, and this is also interesting, so you can like easily memorize this part. Okay, first you have to know about the importance of reproductive health. This part is very much easy, but don't write stories on this topic. You have to give the points. Okay, sometimes we just read and we just create our own points. Don't do that. You read from NCERT and you write the scientific points only. Don't write stories on this point. You write scientific points only. Okay, then moving on to the contraceptive methods. There are different types of methods: natural method, barrier method, chemical and surgical method. Here you have to read about the pills. There are different types of pills. Okay, hormonal pills and once a week pill. Okay, you have to know about the composition of the pills. Okay, composition here is important. And then there is surgical method for male and female. You have to know both the processes. These are very much important. It comes in 3 marks. Okay, it can come like the difference, male and female surgical method difference, or what are the like advantages of this surgical method, what are the disadvantages of this surgical method, what are the types of pills that we can use, what is the composition of the pills, what are the barrier methods, give examples of barrier method, natural method, what is the advantage and what is the disadvantage, is it safe to use the natural method. This kind of questions you can expect. Okay, so next is one of the most important thing, that is MTP, medical termination of pregnancy. Why it is banned now. It is a very important question. Okay, you have to focus on it, and how we have misused MTP, you have to also study this. Okay, in India why it is banned, you have to study this. You have to know about the female feticide because of this medical termination of pregnancy, so that is why now it is banned. So you have to read this concept. Okay, next there is sexually transmitted diseases, STIs, sexually transmitted infections or diseases. We have to know about the causes, why it is happening, and how we can prevent it. There are 4 points given about the causes, and also there are points given in the for the prevention. Okay, so you have to memorize all those, and this is a very easy part. You have to know about the name of those diseases, and you have to know about the causing reasons. Okay, and you have to know about the preventive measures. Okay, now next part is infertility. So why infertility is happening nowadays, that is the important part. Okay, here what happens, you read the terms, you read the points, but you start writing stories. Don't write stories. Read the NCERT properly and give only the scientific points whenever you are writing this. You know these topics very well, that is why you start writing on your own. Don't do that. You pick the topics and you write only about the scientific languages. Don't use your own language. Okay, that will deduct your marks. Okay, you have to write the perfect answer. And last is assisted reproductive technologies, that is IVF, ZIFT, GIFT, ICSI. You have to know about all the full forms here are important. Okay, not only the full forms, here you have to memorize the definition because it comes in the MCQs. Okay, for the MCQs the definitions are very much important, and for the you have to know like every step. Okay, zygote interfallopian transfer, what is happening in that case. Gamete interfallopian transfer, you have to know at what stage we can do this. Okay, and at what stage we can perform this kind of methods, you have to know properly. That is why the definitions are important. Here also you can create a chart like this. You can write the terms here. Okay, and you can create the definitions here. Only in one page you can revise everything. You can make a chart like this and you can memorize all the points properly. In one page you can make the chart of it. Okay, so moving on to the next chapter. This is one of the most crucial chapter of class 12 syllabus, principle of inheritance and variation. So first you know about the Mendel's experiment, why he has chosen the pea plant, what are the 7 contrasting characteristics, right? You have to read. Okay, then you have to read the laws, that is important, and then the monohybrid and dihybrid crosses, that you have to read. Okay, and you have to practice the Punnett square also. You have to know about the test cross, okay, and back cross. These 2 things you have to know properly. Okay, then there is chromosomal theory of inheritance. Okay, you have to know about the history, you have to know about the scientists names. Okay, and also the year also. Okay, because those things come in the MCQs. Okay, so that is why you need to memorize. Next is incomplete dominance. You have to practice the cross properly here, and you have to know the concept clearly, and also the example you need to memorize. For the codominance also CBQ can come from here. Okay, and you have to know the definitions well. Otherwise you will not be able to write the answers properly. If you are not understanding the concept, then you will not be able to write the concept properly. So that is why the understanding the definition properly is important, and also practice the square cross here also, Punnett cross for the incomplete dominance, for the codominance. And you have to know about the blood group. There is a concept of blood group given in the NCERT. You have to read about it. Okay, and in case of the incomplete dominance, case of the snapdragon plant, you have to read, and for the codominance you have to read about the blood group. Okay, so you have to know about the I gene and about its 3 alleles, so that you can know about the blood grouping properly. Okay, so you have to understand this concept properly, and you have to relate this with codominance. Okay, and then there is concept of multiple allele. There are also cases that is given in this case about the starch grains. Okay, and the starch production. You have to read that case also, and you have to understand, and you have to add this concept with multiple alleles. And the blood grouping is also an example of multiple allelism, so that is what you have to read also. Then there is pleiotropy. You have to understand understand this concept. This comes in 3 marks or 2 marks also, and also in MCQs. Okay, they give direct like line from the NCERT, and they can ask in the MCQs also. So you have to understand this pleiotropy. Okay, next there is concept of linkage. You have to practice the diagram that is given there. You have to practice that, and you have to understand the concept of linkage properly. Then there is crossing over. This thing you have read in class 11 also, so I hope that you know about the crossing over properly. Okay, that is why the recombination and variability is coming. Okay, and after that there is mutation types you have to read. And after the mutation, like types, about the types, whenever you are reading, there are examples also given, because based on the mutation there are different types of diseases that is happening. So that is why you have to know about the type of the mutation, and then the examples of different diseases that is being caused because of different types of mutations. And then you have to know about the pedigree analysis. From here CBQ based question come. Okay, and you have to know about each and every science that is there during in the pedigree, and you have to practice the dominant and recessive pedigree. Okay, dominant disease pedigree and recessive you have to practice. Okay, practice from the NCERT itself. Okay, so that you can understand everything properly. Okay, next is molecular basis of inheritance, right? So first you know have to know about the structure of DNA and RNA. Okay, so DNA and RNA basic structures you need to know. You need to know about the nucleotides. Okay, then nucleosides. Okay, basic things. This comes in MCQs, and this comes in 2 marks also. Okay, so you need to know about it. And then there are N2 bases you need to know. The full forms you need to know, and about the purines and pyrimidines you have to have a clear knowledge. Okay, then there is DNA packaging. This is very much important. Okay, and you have to know about nucleosome. They ask about the nucleosome structure. You have to practice the drawing here also. Okay, drawing of nucleosome you have to practice. You have to know about the histone octamer, that is also important. Okay, so you must read these things, and you have to have a clarity of this knowledge of these points properly, so that otherwise these things is will not be clear to you. So try to clarify all these things. Okay, so that you can have a clear knowledge about molecular basis of inheritance. Then there is DNA replication. Okay, about the DNA replication you have to know about the enzymes properly. Okay, then the semi-conservative model, the experiment that is there, you have to read properly. Okay, experiment is very much crucial. You have to know about the experiment. Okay, and there is another thing, that is DNA is the genetic material. There is an example also for that, so that is also you have to read. Okay, next is there is transcription. Okay, you have to get a clear knowledge of transcription. Okay, about the each different type of steps. Okay, and then there is genetic code. You have to know about the characteristics or features of it. Okay, then there is a cross that is given, so from there you need to memorize the codons for each different amino acids. Okay, next is last is translation. You have to know about you have to get a clear knowledge about the steps of the translation. Okay, then there is structure of tRNA also. You have to know about the tRNA structure also. Okay, properly. Last is human genome project. This is easy part. Okay, you just have to memorize this part. So you just read about the features of this project. Okay, so that you can get a clear knowledge about this project. And last is DNA fingerprinting. From here the CBQ based question comes, so this is why it is very much important. You have to get a clear knowledge about this DNA fingerprinting. Okay, and for that you need to get a knowledge of gel electrophoresis. Okay, gel electrophoresis is important part for the DNA fingerprinting. And then there is PCR. You will get these knowledges from biotechnology chapter, right? So these things you have to incorporate with DNA fingerprinting, and all these things together they will form the CBQ type of question. So that is why this kind of this part is also important. Okay, next is evolution. This chapter is mostly memorizing chapter. Okay, except the Hardy-Weinberg principle, there you have to understand the part. Otherwise, first part is regarding the theories of evolution. From here different MCQs come of these different theories here, and they will give the names who have given this theory here, and you have to match. Okay, this kind of question come from this origin of the life theories. Then there is fossil part. You have to memorize how fossils are supporting the evolution. This come in 3 marks question. Okay, next there is Darwin theory of natural selection. Okay, you have to know about that revolution, after the revolution and before the revolution, how the color has changed in the papered moth, that you have to know. Okay, and there is finches also. Okay, you have to know about that also. And there is convergent and divergent evolution, right? So different types of evolution that you have to know also. And there is another concept of like marsupials. There are examples, right? Those examples you need to know. And there is homologous and analogous organ. Homologous and analogous, you have to know clearly these things. Okay, and here the examples are very much crucial for the MCQ for 2 marks. Okay, the examples are very much crucial. And read that chart where the marsupials example is also given, and read the convergent and divergent evolution properly. And next is Hardy-Weinberg principle. Okay, you have to memorize the principle properly, and from here small mathematical problems can also come. Okay, next is at last is human evolution. From human evolution, the different names of previous human beings you have to remember: Ramapithecus, Australopithecus, characteristics of them. And then there is characteristics of Neanderthal man, Java man, their cranial capacity. You can make a chart again here, and you can memorize that easily. Okay, next is human health and disease. Okay, this is also a memorizing chapter, except this immunity part where you have to understand the immunity, different types of immunity, and also this vaccination portion. Okay, other than that, in this common diseases, this part is totally memorizing part. Okay, here you have to practice the drawing of malaria, right? You have to practice that cycle. Okay, cycle of Anopheles mosquito. Okay, and then you have to know about different types of bacterial disease, viral disease, protozoan and helminthic disease. You have to know the name of the causative organisms. Okay, causative organisms name you have to know. So that is very crucial for this chapter. And you have to know about yes, this one, and the carriers also. Okay, you have to know about the carriers and the causative organisms and the features of these diseases. What happens, what are the symptoms, okay, of these diseases. You have to memorize this. And next there is innate immunity and acquired immunity. You have to get a clear concept of these 2 things, and then only you can write it properly. Okay, then there is humoral and cell mediated immunity also. Again you can create a chart on this, and you can make a chart like this, and you can write it. There are 4 types of immunities. You can write like this. Okay, so that you can compare all of them, and you can read in 1 page only. So you can create a chart for these different types of immunities. Next is vaccination. Why vaccination is important, how does it help to survive? Okay, those kind of things you need to know. Immunization, why it is important. And here also there is a part that what kind of diseases that we have eradicated from India because of the vaccination and immunization. That is important thing that you need to know. Okay, polio is one of them. Okay, next is concept of cancer is also here. You have to read that concept also. There is carcinogens also there. You have to know about the carcinogens, and you have to know about the different symptoms that is happening during the cancer, why it is happening, what are the reasons. Okay, so you have to know about it. And then you have to know about allergies. What are the things that is happening during the allergies, what are the reactions that is happening, how our immune system is acting whenever we have different types of allergies. And then autoimmune diseases. What is autoimmune diseases, you have to know, and you have to get a clear concept of this. And then you have to memorize the examples also here. Okay, and drug and alcohol abuse. This is also a interesting part and easy part. From here you can expect 3 marks question. Okay, So that is why you need to study this. If you read this once or twice, you can easily get the concept, but don't write stories, because this is a easy part. Somehow students think that I can easily write this, and they write stories, but don't write stories in stories or make your own concept during the exam. You try to incorporate NCERT languages in your answer, so that you can get a proper marks. Okay, next is microbes in human welfare, right? So microbes in human welfare, for that you have to know about the microbes in household products, how it is helping in curd production, bread production, alcohol production. Okay, you can create a chart of it here also. Again, you can write different food items, and you can write the microbes that is being used during this food preparation. Okay, then is industrial production, how it is helping in antibiotic production, how it is helping in enzyme production, that you have to read also. Okay, next is sewage treatment. This one is very much important. You have to know about the primary sewage, secondary sewage, about the sewage treatment plant, about the Ganga and Yamuna action plan. Okay, and last is biogas production. This is also important. You have to know about the flowchart of the biogas production properly. You just have to practice all that thing also. Next is microbes as biocontrol and biofertilizers. This comes under the organic farming, which is now a very important topic. People are trying to incorporate this organic farming. Okay, in foreign countries they have already incorporated this, and also we are trying to incorporate. So that is why it is important. You can expect questions from here also. So that is why you need to know about how the microbes are playing role in the biocontrol, and how they are acting as biofertilizers. Okay, so this part is also very much important. This is very much important, as this is relevant for our real life. So that is why. Next is biotechnology principles and processes, right? So first thing is that you have to know about the recombinant DNA technology. So for this recombinant DNA technology, you have to know about the vectors, right? You have to know about different types of enzymes, restriction enzymes, how we can use this restriction enzyme to cut the vectors, and how we can incorporate the desired fragment of our DNA into this vector, and how we can transfer this vector into the host cell. That means how we can make the host cell competent for taking the vectors. Okay, there are concepts that you have to need to know, that how we can make a cell competent, right? There is micro injection, right? Those concepts are there. So you have to, there is heat shock treatment. So you have to read about all those treatments. Okay, next is steps of DNA recombinant technology. So you have to know that what are the steps, and how we can properly transform the DNA, how we can properly incorporate our desired DNA fragment into the desired organism. So that is what DNA technology, DNA recombinant technology is. And also here you have to read about PBR 322 vector. So you have to practice the drawing of it also, right? You have to practice it properly. You have to know about BAC and YAC. Okay, you have to know full form of this. Okay, you have to know about the capacity of this also. And then last is cloning. Okay, cloning is very much important. Why? How it is helping us, that is also important. Next is gene transfer, how we can do that by using this recombinant DNA technology itself. Okay, and then last this part is very much easy, bioreactors and downstream processing. But you can expect question from here also. There are two types of bioreactors that you have to practice the drawing. Okay, practice the drawing from here also. Or you can expect the they will give the drawing itself, and they will ask you questions from here. So you have to memorize the drawing, because CBQ type of question can come from here only. And they give 3 marks question from downstream processing itself. So you have to read it, because this part is easy. Okay, so you have to know properly about this restriction enzyme, why we are using the same restriction enzyme to cut our DNA, and the vector itself, that you also need to know. So different concepts are there in this chapter. So you have to have a clear knowledge on all those topics, so that you can answer properly. If your concept is not clear, you will not be able to understand the question properly, and you will not be able to write the answer properly. So you need to know about all these concepts properly. Okay, so start reading, start revising the NCERT properly, step by step, following the subtopics. Okay, next is biotechnology and its application, right? So applications in the agriculture, how we can make the genetically modified crops, how we can make the GMO, how we have developed this BT cotton and golden rice. Okay, how these Bacillus thuringiensis have helped to develop this BT cotton. Okay, what are the genes that have played the role? Okay, you have to know the name of the gene, cry gene. Okay, right? And there are different examples also from where we have taken all those, so you need to know about this. All those examples are important. Okay, first 2 pages of this chapter are very much important because there are lots of examples there. Okay, why golden rice is important, how the golden rice have helped a major amount of our population, Indian population, that is also important question. Okay, application in medicine. Okay, gene therapy, it is there, and from here there is a case, so you have to read the case properly. Okay, then you have to know about the ELISA and PCR concept is very much crucial for 3 marks. You have to practice the drawing and you have to write each steps properly. Okay, PCR is a very crucial topic. You have to read and understand this topic properly. Last is transgenic animals, biopatent and biopiracy. Okay, this thing can come in 2 marks questions. Okay, biopiracy and biopatent, these are easy portions. You just have to memorize this portion. You just read twice or thrice, you will understand the topics properly. Okay, and you can easily memorize these topics. Okay, transgenic animal is also a easy and interesting topic. So if you read for twice or thrice the NCERT, you will able to understand. Okay, next is organisms and population. First is abiotic factors. You have to know about the abiotic and biotic factors that is present in the environment. Biotic factors means all the living factors and abiotic factors means all the non-living factors. So you have to know about all those, temperature, soil, right? So you have to know about all those things. Next, there is adaptations, how the organisms have adapted and how their physiological and behavioral changes have occurred because of the adaptation, because of different locations, how they have adapted or how they have shifted their characteristics to survive there. That is known as adaptation only. So you have to read about different types of adaptations. Next, there is population attribute. You have to know about the birth rate, okay, natality and mortality. Okay, that you have to know, and how it is affecting the population. You have to know that. There is a diagram also here, you need to know that. Okay, birth rate will if the birth rate is high, that means the population will grow, and if the death rate is high, that means the population will decline. And here there is age distribution also. There are different types of pyramids here also, right? So you have to read about it also. Okay, then there is population growth model, exponential model and logistic model. So you have to read about these 2 models and you have to draw the graph. Okay, and you have to know the like the equations. Okay, you have to know about the equations and the graph of these 2 types of growth models. Okay, next, the most important part from this is this population interaction. They give question from the example, they give question from that chart that is given there. Okay, plus minus, this kind of chart is given there. Okay, in competition, that is minus, this kind of chart is given there. Predation is plus minus. You have to know what is plus minus, which one is minus, this kind of thing you need to know. Which one is plus, which one is plus minus, you need to know. And the examples are crucial only. Okay, you have to know about the examples properly and you have to know the definitions of this also. Okay, so population interaction is very important and crucial part of this chapter. Read this thing properly, you can expect question from this part only. Okay, next is ecosystem. Okay, in the ecosystem you have to know about the structure and components of ecosystem. Next, there is productivity. Yes, this part is again very much important. What is gross productivity and what is net productivity? There is a concept of R here, R, that you have to read. Okay, next is decomposition process. This one comes in 4 marks. Okay, decomposition process you have to read and understand properly, and you have to practice the diagram also. From here there is a diagram here, you have to practice that. Okay, this diagram you have to practice. Then there is energy flow. There is a law of energy flow that you have to know. that energy, whenever it is flowing, it will decrease by 10%. You have to know about the food chain, different types of food chain you need to know, and whenever different kinds of food chain align, they form the food web, that you also have to understand. And then there are ecological pyramids, that you also need to know about terrestrial ecosystem, about aquatic ecosystem. You have to understand the pyramids well, and you have to practice the pyramids also. Okay, last is nutrient cycle. You have to read the nutrient cycle and understand it. And this concept is also important about the ecological succession. Okay, how it is affecting, how the from a barren land, how a forest is developed. So ecological succession is also important. Okay, next is biodiversity and conservation, right? So biodiversity and conservation, you have to know about the term and importance of biodiversity. What is biodiversity, that you have to understand. How many types of biodiversities are there, that you have to also understand. What are the if the loss of biodiversity is happening, what are the major causes, and what are the results of it, how it can affect the environment, how it can affect us, the consequences of it, you have to read. Okay, this chapter is memorizing chapter. You have to read and understand and then memorize. Okay, conservation strategies, how we can conserve the plants or and animals, how we can conserve the biodiversity, that is in situ conservation and ex situ conservation. You have to know about the examples. You have to understand different types of conservation techniques. Okay, last is definition of hotspot and also the examples of it. Examples are very much important. You have to know about the key species, and there are different types of protected areas that you have to read. Okay, so this is the total chapter wise subtopic division for your class 12 biology syllabus. I hope you have understood each and every subtopic properly. So now, if you make charts that I have told, and if you read the key points that I have told here, I have mentioned here, I think you will be able to answer all the things properly. And if you just divide this chapter like this, it will be easy for you to understand the whole syllabus easily, and then you can revise properly. Okay, and if possible, read 2 to 3 chapters together, and like 2 to 3 chapters. From 2 to 3 chapters, select 2 to 3 subtopics. Suppose you are revising molecular basis, and along with that molecular basis you take one easy chapter. You can take that microbes in human welfare. Okay, from this you study these 3 parts, and from the molecular basis you study the transcription and translation. Like this you can prepare. If you can prepare like this, then it will be easy for you to memorize everything, okay, properly. And I hope this will help you in your main exam. All the best for your future. So stay tuned. I will upload more videos like this. If you like the video, you can subscribe to my channel, and thank you for watching.